Welcome everyone to this special meeting of the Santa Barbara City Council. Today is January 21st, 2021. Welcome to the new year. Our focus today is the design charrette for downtown Santa Barbara, but we'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can you do a roll call, Ms. Clerk? But let me announce that Eric Friedman of our City Council, he's the Vice Chair of the California League of Cities Coastal Cities Group, so he'll be late to this. He had a conflict. Thanks.
Very good. Councilmember Jordan.
Here.
Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez. Mayor Pro Tem Sneddon.
No longer Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh,
here.
Excuse me. Yes. It's a new day. Councilmember Sneddon. Councilmember Friedman, not yet present. Councilmember Harmon.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Oscar Gutierrez.
Present.
And Mayor Murillo.
Here. Thank you very much. So how we will structure today's meeting, Nina Johnson, the assistant to the city manager, will moderate since this is a special workshop. She'll start us off. There'll be a video presentation from the architects, esteemed architects in our community. And then we'll have public comment and where you can ask questions. We'll keep track of your questions. And then Nina will moderate a question and comment after that. So Ms. Johnson, are you ready to come on screen?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. I'd like to share my slides. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm Nina Johnson, Senior Assistant to the City Administrator, and today we have a presentation and discussion on our design charrette in 2020. We're here with the design community to share information and focus on future opportunities downtown. Okay, I hope everyone is able to see the slides. We're coming to you during a time of tremendous challenge and opportunity. This is a very challenging and sensitive time due to the pandemic with a stay-home order in place. It's keeping many people at home. Businesses are in a very difficult spot to make ends meet. Our conversation today is focused on the long-term planning for a vibrant downtown. We've reached an intersection of some major real estate trends. Too much commercial retail space and not enough housing units for a diverse community. We're also seeing more people learning to work remotely. So this is a time for us to really engage in a forward-thinking dialogue to plan for the future and to look ahead in terms of what we want to see downtown. Recognizing a variety of factors, our local AIA chapter rose to the occasion to plan a community design charrette to take a close look at our future opportunities for housing and a variety of buildings downtown, along with the promenade and public spaces that can support people living and working downtown, a true village environment. What is a charrette? Many people ask, because we use that term quite often, it's a French term for a quick brainstorming session where people can come together and find design solutions and generate a number of options to meet the challenges that we're facing. Our community has a long history of engaging the public in these collaborative experiences in design charrettes. We're looking at images from the 2017 design charrette, and as you can see in the images, we have all of our architects and community members gathered around a table in a community center. So this is what it once looked like, and today, as you can see in the photo, we have innovated during the pandemic to really have a virtual collaboration It is a true experiment in how people can come together from different locations when we're not allowed to gather in one spot in one meeting room. So all of the architects and design professionals engaged in video conferencing to hold their discussions. They conducted site visits in teams at a social distance from one another. They conducted an online survey to hear from members of the community. And they conducted a reception where people could present their ideas from various teams online through Zoom. Altogether, there were 160 volunteers from various trades and expertise in our design community. There were 12 teams studying a 2-block area between the 300 and 1,000 blocks, and then 4 teams studying the entire corridor and all of the open spaces, paseos, and plazas along that downtown area. Altogether, unlike previous charrette experiences that lasted for a day, the charrette this last year took place from July to September, so quite a period of time, allowing for a lot of discussion and iteration and generating many different project ideas. Overall, the design charrette included participation from many people throughout the community. City staff, property owners, and other experts in the community were consulted and brought on as advisors to be available to answer questions. And then also all of our historic resources maps, our property files were made available to the team so that they could really study and get a good understanding of each of the sites that they were looking at. To further continue the public outreach, the AIA put up a window exhibit downtown so that the public could see many of the options that they generated and drew. All of the teams were given specific assignments. As we look at what each of the teams came up with, they were to identify opportunities for housing through new construction and also adaptive reuse, using the same structure, the building structure itself. They were to prepare solutions for outdoor spaces within each 2-block area, really looking at how the public spaces could support a living environment for the housing that they were creating. They were generating detailed project statistics and data that our planning staff could use to demonstrate project feasibility. What is the potential of each site? What is the development potential within the block? And they were going along, as they went along, making adjustments, showing suggestions for how could we incentivize more housing and open space? What suggestions could they give our staff and our elected officials and community in terms of some policy adjustments that could help us? So for today's presentation, we are going to once again do something a little bit different. We are going to have a number of charrette participants here to answer questions and engage in a discussion with the mayor and council. What we're first going to do is watch a video presentation that they prepared. We pre-recorded this presentation so that there would not be any technical glitches and that the presentation could go smoothly. So we would ask the mayor and council if we could hold questions until the end. Then we will share some next steps from staff. Then we will take public comment. And after that, we'll have a Q&A session and discussion with members of the council and the charrette participants. And I also wanted to point out that our entire meeting would be translated to Spanish. Okay, from here, we are going to play the video.
Madam Mayor and the members of the Council, we'd like to thank the Council for this special meeting today to allow us to present highlights from the Community Vision Charrette 2020 design work conducted by AIASB this last July, August, and September. AIASB are here during this very difficult and challenging time to embrace the community, to offer solutions and continue education and discussions needed to make decisions moving forward. Santa Barbara is such a beautiful and resilient city. We believe that well-thought urban planning and sensible architectural design institute an important perspective to the future of our city. As we continue to refine our development tools and procedures for the greater inclusion of housing in downtown Santa Barbara. Throughout the charrette process, AIASB's members worked closely with city planning staff to receive guidance and develop the charrette 2020. At the same time, we were overwhelmed by the support from the community, including all these sponsors who make this charrette possible.
Thank you, Ty. I wanted to share with the group the process that we as co-chairs participated in. There was a large group of people from AIASB who participated. The co-chairs were Detty Pikert, Cass Ensberg, and myself, Ellen Bildston. We began the process by formulating a survey to ask key questions of our members of the community about their thoughts regarding housing, movement downtown along State Street, and related topics of parking and such topics that pertain to the downtown situation. We got resounding results from the public, including almost 5,000 responses and open-ended answers to a lot of the questions that were asked. We invite anyone who's interested to see more about that survey to go to the AIASB.com website to see more in detail about the information that was gathered. On the basis of that survey, we put together the program and focus of the charrette. We also met with many city staff people to find out the priorities that the city has for their upcoming policy decisions that need to be made. On the basis of that, we started formulating the charrette and inviting many, many people to participate. Among them, architects, landscape designers, engineers, and other members of our community. We came out with a group of about 160 participants, far more than we've ever had participate in any of our previous charrettes. The 160 people were organized into 16 separate teams. 12 of them focused on 2 blocks at a time along State Street. So looking at this map, you see there's team 1. We had 2 teams in team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And they each focused on these 2 block areas bridging along State Street. Separately, we had 4 other teams that focused on the whole State Street corridor, all the way from the beach up to Solo Street. So the breadth and the focus was very keyed to the kinds of results that we now welcome you to take a look at with the rest of the teams who are making this presentation.
Building on the creative momentum of the AIA charrette, we imagine a series of public workshops that will produce a vibrant, timeless, and sustainable master plan for State Street and the Central Business District that addresses the needs of the entire community.
The charrette volunteers developed an incredible array of design ideas for the State Street corridor. What you see here is a small sampling of drawings from the 4 teams that focused on a vision for State Street itself. Team members put forward ideas such as integrating the sidewalks in the street as one continuous promenade, developing a design language for each district that highlights its unique character, and implementing gateways that celebrate the transition between these spaces. These elements could build on the identity of the downtown core and provide opportunities for public art. We found that pedestrian connectivity could be further enhanced by expanding the existing network of paseos and courtyards, adding to the charm of the pedestrian experience in the El Pueblo Viejo district and beyond. With the selective removal of some existing buildings, the spatial relationship between State Street and its surrounding plazas could be further developed. Lastly, we studied how to approach circulation and developed ideas for shared streets, modified bicycle and parade routes, and other solutions to accommodate a lively business district with ample connectivity to multimodal transportation and services.
Here are some takeaways and next steps. Consider supporting the creation of a permanent park-like promenade for State Street. Consider funding the development of an overall plan for State Street and downtown public open spaces, parks, paseos, plazas, and promenades. Explore the creation of a foundation to fund improvements. And lastly, engage the community through workshops and discussions to establish the vision for the future of State Street.
Greetings, Santa Barbara. My name is Cassandra Ensberg, and I'm here today with Isabel Loriba, Paul Poirier, and Robert Adams to highlight our legacy of visual and performing arts in Santa Barbara and the opportunities for us moving forward. Isabel will start us off.
Thank you, guys. How are you guys? Dios nos dio los campos, el acto humana edificó ciudades. God gave us the fields, the art of man built the city. Here are some beautiful images of Santa Barbara art that we can find throughout the city. And art transcends language and can communicate to people of all ages, cultures, and also backgrounds. Santa Barbara is a beautiful community of diverse artists, known for its magical creativity, its unique, beautiful architecture, and for its stewardship in protecting the natural environment.
Art is a celebration of nature and life and all of its emotions. From the festive parade for summer solstice to a sad mariachi song to the dancing at the Mission on Wednesday night when they open Fiesta. The spirit and the soul of the community is expressed through the arts. Art can be a healing force in the community and can bring people together to celebrate and play. It's a long history of art and our community and its activities from I Modern RI, Fiesta, the mural room at the courthouse, Lotus Land, the pianos on State Street, all incorporating art and community. Art's been woven into the fabric of Santa Barbara, blending art and architecture since its beginning. The redevelopment of downtown, these are some of the designs from the charrette, are incorporating art into the architecture itself. And Santa Barbara's always been a one-of-a-kind stage for world-class performances and local festivals like the Solstice Parade. So when we redesign the downtown, we want to make sure that we have those opportunities to continue to enjoy those activities. Changes to the downtown will put our craftsmanship on display through wrought iron work, tile, mosaics, interactive art projects. And our responsibility is to continue to share and write the story of our beautiful and extraordinary town through the arts to keep our legacy alive. Here we have some ideas for different types of art in the redevelopment of downtown, perhaps a bicycle activity area, interactive art on the lower left, some kiosks for selling art incorporated into the downtown area.
These are the things that we want you to take away. Encourage local visual and performing arts in the public realm. Sustain, strengthen, and grow community art and cultural assets. Embrace freedom of creative artistic expression within architectural styles, forms, and colors. Commission artists to participate in the design of public spaces, build partnerships with local museums and arts organizations to take advantage of opportunities and to achieve the community's arts goals, streamline the approval process for art in public places, and to create opportunities for local artists' markets.
Thank you, Robert and Paul and Isa. Let us remember, art is our past, art is our future. Let's continue the rich tradition of art and architecture in Santa Barbara. Thank you.
The most vibrant and successful downtowns around the world include a broad and diverse mix of uses, including housing. While State Street today offers many spaces for commercial retail, restaurant, office, and recreational opportunities, housing, particularly workforce housing, is largely missing. We believe embracing all opportunities to integrate new housing into the existing urban fabric is critical to the long-term economic viability and cultural vibrancy of our downtown. While State Street's history, style, and charm is a large part of what makes Santa Barbara so unique and loved by locals and tourists alike, we believe housing, whether via new construction on underutilized parcels or the adaptive reuse of wholly existing buildings, can and should be designed to give homage to the past while embracing the values and vision of our future. The above image shows how the Fithian building could be restored to its original 4-story design and converted to housing units. And the below images show how new high-density housing can not only be consistent with, but enhance existing historic resources. Sustainability and environmental stewardship have long been tenets of our community. Today, we know one of the largest factors contributing to a building's environmental footprint is the context of where it's located. Putting high-density housing in our urban centers, close to jobs, services, cultural and recreational activities, facilitate alternative modes of transportation, reduce reliance on single occupancy vehicles and vehicle miles traveled, and reduce our regional greenhouse gas emissions. This type of urban development by its nature is sustainable by design. In addition, we believe it is important for development policies to facilitate and incentivize opportunities for integrated stormwater management, rooftop rain gardens, EV charging stations, and rooftop solar photovoltaic.
Working within the principles of our historic fabric in a sustainable manner to build transit-oriented housing is a fantastic way to enliven downtown and to address the deep need for additional housing in our community. For this to be possible, we need to achieve density where it matters in downtown neighborhoods. There are many ways to achieve this, and we have taken a look at a few strategies. On this slide, you can see a possible redevelopment of the property adjacent to the transit center, and you can see the building would fit well within Santa Barbara's historic fabric. Around downtown, there are many surface parking lots. These are easy to convert into mixed-use housing with an option for commercial spaces or offices at the ground floor along the street. Here is an example of a new downtown housing and multi-use area. Existing parking garages are low-rise and offer opportunities to maintain existing parking while infilling housing above and around the garage, as you can see in this lovely reimagining of the parking lot at Canon Perdido. One of the many ways to achieve additional housing is to design a wide mix of units, including small units like the ones shown here. Some sites and some existing buildings are particularly well suited to provide smaller units for working professionals who can use downtown as their garden and their living room.
Since the pandemic, many office buildings have been emptied, and some may never return to full office use. We have identified several office buildings, including the 6-story Balboa building shown at the lower right and upper left, that could fairly easily be converted to apartments. Next slide. We're all aware of the exodus of large retailers from Santa Barbara, and their empty buildings provide a great opportunity for new housing downtown. Our charrette illustrates how both Macy's and Nordstrom's buildings could provide dozens of housing units at a fraction of the cost of new construction. On the Paseo Nuevo blocks, we've envisioned over 300 new housing units, and the residents of these apartments would provide a market for neighborhood serving retail at street level. The challenge is that developers and property owners who wish to convert existing commercial buildings into residential or mixed uses often find themselves stymied by an array of zoning regulations and development standards that make it difficult, if not impossible, to comply. For these conversions to take place successfully, we think the city should develop flexible standards to incentivize them and a project facilitator to help coordinate the requirements from various departments.
As we explore housing solutions, there are several approaches that can be taken. Consider designation of all rental housing projects in the CBD as community benefit projects without the need for special consideration or findings. Instead of AUD density approach, provide incentives and flexibility for developers to maximize the creation of livable floor areas with a wide range of unit types to make projects feasible. Continue the work in partnership with AIA, SB, and others to determine the appropriate development floor area ratios. Through design standards, zoning regulations, sensitivity to historic structures, and building codes, all apply and can help to ensure that new buildings fit with our community character. Include best practices for development and address sustainability, and create an adaptive reuse ordinance. Develop design standards and ordinance provisions specifically to incentivize adaptive reuse conversions to housing in the CBD.
Making housing feasible. There were many advisors to the teams, including city staff and design board members. Peter Lewis and Craig Minus, apartment developers, and myself, John Campanella, selected illustrations as examples of building forms and floor area supporting feasibility. Building forms illustrated. These are really the same building forms as currently exist in the central business district. Building form flexibility is shown based on the site dimensions, which produce rectangles or pairs of rectangles, U-shaped buildings around a courtyard, or large square buildings with a center courtyard. In all of these cases, only the building exterior would be visible from the street. Floor areas that are illustrated. If a floor area is only accessible from a courtyard, this really equals less floor area that's being developed. You really have a single row of residences accessed from this courtyard. This might be feasible for 1960, 1970 apartments, and perhaps for condominiums today. But floor area accessible from an interior hallway, which equals more floor area, is really efficient because you have two rows of residences accessed from the hallway. And this is very feasible for apartments today. Livable floor area efficiency. The more floor area per level you can get really results in more livable floor area. And you want to maximize this livable floor area inside the building. Because the more you get, it produces a variety in size of the residences. You can have micro units, studios, 1 and 2 bedroom units, have a wider market to serve the public. Also, more livable floor area equals efficiency and sharing cost. The site cost, processing, site preparation, grade level structure, whether parking or commercial, really provides a situation where now incrementally this additional square footage is much less expensive to produce. We're going to show 7 examples of projects that could be feasible. All of the 7 projects have floor area accessible from interior hallways. And you'll also see the efficiency of these floor plans and the variety of residence sizes on each floor. You will also see 3 or more levels of residence in these buildings. On this first slide, these are projects that are rectangle or pairs of rectangles. They're situated both on corners on State Street and mid-block. You can see the variety of unit sizes, types, all of which are accessed from interior hallways on these buildings. On the next slide, we see the Balboa building, which is being repurposed for residential. It's actually a U-shaped building around a south-facing courtyard. This courtyard is not obvious when viewed from the street. Next to it is a U-shaped building that's proposed on a parking lot. Down below, you'll see actually the Nordstrom building, which is shown as repurposed as a mixed-use building. This is facilitated by the more recent construction of this building that can really be used for repurposing the building and keeping the walls in place. To the right of it is a square project with the center courtyard on a larger lot. That's the replacement for Cost Plus World Market building with a new 5-story mixed-use building. So what are the takeaways? Flexibility plus efficiency equals feasibility. Flexible design standard, as shown by these illustrations, can best respond to site dimensions and constraints. Downtown, as you know, is built out. So the sites that are to be selected really have to respond to the environment, and this flexibility in design is needed. Building forms, however, are classic and typical to those existing in the CBD. Efficiency in designing livable floor area reduces costs, and 3 to 4 residential floors over ground floor support feasibility. The reason these 3 to 4 residential floors reduce cost is the incremental cost of an extra floor is primarily for the floors and walls. You've already incurred the other costs of the building. So flexibility and efficiency are needed since land and building costs really have doubled over the last 10 years.
Stormwater management is a key issue that needs to be addressed currently and in the context of future development. Creating an assessment district would enable the city to create a public infrastructure project that could manage and harvest stormwater, clean and filter it, recharge groundwater, and minimize the impact of the environment by building it into the future of the State Street corridor improvements. A municipal system can create a simple way for developers to deal with stormwater on downtown sites. The water table in much of the CBD is very high and often results in underground retention tanks to satisfy stormwater goals on a parcel-by-parcel basis. Without public infrastructure to help with a project's stormwater goals, the burden of this system and inherent conflicts with special and technical constraints can often be insurmountable. Community open space, parkways, and promenades, and even existing roads can be used to help accomplish these stormwater goals while allowing the features themselves to work in harmony with each other. The setting they create can become a symbiotic solution, a perfect example of how overall result can be better than the sum of its parts. There are many tested ways to do this, as several cities have implemented these techniques already. This slide illustration shows some of the more successful approaches to this concept, and by allowing the stormwater to discharge into the public right-of-ways where it can be naturally filtered, captured, reused, or released into the ocean, we are combining assets of related elements and creating a result that parallels the future of stormwater in urban design.
A stormwater district along the State Street corridor combines several goals which complement each other and allows for a partnering between development projects and the city. Such a district would require development fees from individual project developers to provide funds to enhance amenities for the public and in return help individual projects by allowing the stormwater features to be more efficient rather than having them compete with an already overburdened on-site program.
Public-private partnerships. Partnerships and a foundation for capital improvements, events, and programming. Of the many projects that the Creative Charrette illustrated, the performing arts and opportunities for performance spaces and engagement with existing dance, music, art, cultural institutions in the city are all opportunities, as well as engaging with academic institutions with downtown facilities and engagement. 4 of the 16 Charette community teams explored visionary opportunities to redevelop State Street. During the history of our special city between the mountains and the ocean, our community has created a special and vibrant place, and the Charette revealed that as a community, we choose to make opportunity out of challenging times, whether it's an earthquake in the 1920s or a pandemic in 2020. And Santa Barbara is ready for that next vision. A park-like linear promenade is created with extensive programmed activity. The park begins at the waterfront and ends at Mitchell-Torrena Street with 7 east-west pedestrian extensions integrating special districts and cultural city jewels. The areas are quarter-mile ride by half-mile divided into 3 zones. The promenade is supported by a one-way transportation loop of shuttle, transit, and dedicated commuter speed bike lanes. All State Street destinations are within a single block.
I wanted to provide a local government perspective of working with several partners downtown, particularly on the funding side of the equation. To realize a community vision for more housing, amenities, and a steady pulse of activity, creative public-private partnerships are essential. Just looking at the potential benefits of a new foundation, when the city's redevelopment agency was eliminated in 2012, we lost a dedicated funding stream for downtown improvements. Measure C enacted a 1-cent sales tax with a focus on street repairs and renovating existing public buildings, but on its own, it's not sufficient to fund what's needed. From that standpoint, I appreciate the idea of a new funding model dedicated to planning and fundraising phased projects in a long-term plan. This type of partnership would replace the role of the former redevelopment agency. A foundation could help support a cohesive vision for the promenade, plazas, parks, and connected open spaces to meet diverse community needs. This could serve as a new funding model to coordinate with the city and supplement existing infrastructure funding. There are a lot of community organizations who are very active in making activities and events happen. The downtown organization, Santa Barbara Beautiful, the Park Foundation, to name just a few. To better meet their needs, this could be a funding model to collaborate with them and support programming, really facilitating an alliance of public-private partnerships to meet our goals. This type of foundation could ensure high standards and design quality that lives up to the Santa Barbara brand.
Potential foundation goals and guiding principles: create, fund, collaborate, communicate. The city can take advantage of both local, very successful foundation examples such as the Santa Barbara Bowl or Moxie, as well as nationwide great examples of whether it's Santa Barbara Bowl, the Downtown Boulder Foundation, Friends of the Waterfront Park in Seattle, Highline Foundation in New York, or the Bryant Park Foundation. And all of these different foundations provide all these benefits to each and every one of their communities listed below. Public-private partnerships and foundation, the takeaways and next steps. A critical part of the public-private partnership opportunities have to do with housing, as the city can collaborate and coordinate with developers and other members of the community to get city-owned properties that are dedicated to parking as an opportunity for housing. And we would really recommend and suggest in the creative process from the foundation that a potential foundation is a tremendous opportunity to take all of this great vision and give it a means to be achieved in reality.
Madam Mayor, council members and staff, just a few moments to close this up between the 3 of us. I wanted to say that Santa Barbara is known for our art, our architecture, our environment, and our bold action to protect it. Timid and average are not words that describe us. We are doers, we are artists, we are creative problem solvers. Many concepts are illustrated, as you have seen, for housing and for the outdoor spaces with gardens and healthy activities. Activities such as a bike park to provide a safe place where the cyclist could perform in the public realm, and the 101 underpass as a multi-purpose space for art, music, and dance. These are just a couple of ideas that I really love. Now is the time to be bold and to step up, to help each other, to be tolerant, diverse, equitable, and inclusive. We must make housing easier to achieve and to help the arts to thrive with more freedom of creative artistic expression and color in our downtown. As a nation, we have seen how powerful the arts can be to connect us and to heal us. Let's keep working together to realize the changes and take joy in the full expression of our unique Santa Barbara character. With gratitude and profound thanks to all, I'll give it to Dede.
Madam Mayor, members of council, again, I very much appreciate the opportunity that you've provided here for us. And we're very, very excited about sharing all of this amazing work product with you and members of the public who are participating in this presentation. I would say that you've seen some highlights, but there's tremendous volume of work product that was actually produced in the charrette. And all of that information is available on the AIA website. We have produced a book, I guess we really call it, that consists of about 330 pages of all of the work that was done by these 16 teams at the charrette. And you're more than welcome to visit the website and download that entire package. And I think you'll find it just absolutely amazing and interesting, inspiring in terms of all the ideas and wonderful creativity that is presented in that. And again, these are ideas. They're meant to inspire and encourage people to explore them and ultimately work through them to see how they can help us define that vision for the future of downtown and of State Street. I want to mention one other thing before I close, and that is that we actually have been very active in presenting very similar presentations to different organizations in the community. Here's a list of some of the groups that we've met with, just so that you have a sense of, what we've been doing and how we've been sort of promoting and educating people about and trying to help you ultimately build consensus around a lot of these ideas. The very first one's very important because we wanted to make sure that we had the Historic Landmarks Commission and our Architectural Board of Review involved in the charrette and have them involved in reviewing the materials and providing some feedback and input. And you will find that information in the large body of material that I mentioned, the PDF that you can download off the website. We presented to the Council's State Street subcommittees. We presented to the Planning Commission. We had a meeting with the City Arts Advisory Group. And then we went out to some community groups, the Santa Barbara Newcomers Group. We made a presentation there. Citizens Planning Association, the Downtown Organization. Recently, we had a presentation with the Chamber of Commerce, the Housing Authority, Santa Barbara Leadership Team, Coast, League of Women Voters, SB Can. So you can see we've been busy. We've been busy sharing this material with others. And I think much to our delight, we've had just tremendous positive feedback from all of these groups, which is really an indication of how excited not only we are about all of this, but that our community and these organizations that represent our community are. So hopefully this can help, to serve and pave the way to future discussions and workshops as we get more and more of the public involved. And finally, I just mentioned that there are all of the presenters, or most of the presenters who you heard in the video, are here online as panelists. And when we get into the discussion phase of this meeting, you're more than welcome to reach out to them with your questions, or I can help and direct questions to the appropriate people so that we have some order to how we do that. So we very much look forward to hearing from you and to getting involved in the discussion.
Thank you. As the third of the co-chairs who organized the charrette, just a few brief comments add to what Dedi and Cass have mentioned in their summary comments. We hope that the community embraces the ideas that that we've presented here today, very much focused on the future of Santa Barbara as a community, the development of downtown into a walkable neighborhood beyond the primarily retail destination that it is currently. We think this sort of vitality that we could bring to downtown that would go from day into night is something that could really add to the vibrance and the experience of being downtown, a more sustainable community, less need for cars if people are able to live, work, go to school, and recreate right in the downtown area. We think this would represent also just a different model of life in Santa Barbara, recognizing this probably is the lifestyle that would appeal to everyone. We think this could be a new mode of lifestyle that might be very appealing to people demographically broad and with a whole variety of family structures, work structures, and all the rest of the changes that we're experiencing at unprecedented rates these days in terms of the need for flexibility and the need for resource. So with that, we open and ask for whatever questions that City Council members and the public might have. We'd really love to keep this conversation going. Thanks very much.
Okay. And next, what we will do is we have a few slides from staff just to show some next steps that we've identified. Staff, in looking at the body of work that was generated from the design charrette, we have a few steps that we would like to show that we would like to move forward on with council's additional input and concurrence. So first, considering the formation of a foundation within a variety of funding models, looking at options for public-private partnerships, capital improvements, public amenities, and art along the downtown promenade. We'd like to explore that in more depth. To facilitate and incentivize a wide range of housing units downtown, we'd like to look at integrating all of the housing data, the images, illustrations, all of these lessons into the development of policy amendments and also public outreach that staff plans to do. And then exploring the potential benefits and the steps to put a stormwater assessment district together. That is a really important step to help move housing projects forward, and that each individual project would not be on its own. We could have a collective approach to handle stormwater. So taking a look at what would be involved in putting together an assessment district for then property owners to be looking at and considering. Next, City Planner Renee Brook is also with us, and she's going to talk a little bit more about how this information can be used in terms of next steps in housing policy.
Thank you, Nina. And I'll be brief. I know we want to get to questions and good discussion here, but I appreciate the segue into next steps. We are often asked, what will the city do with this information now that the AIA has spearheaded this effort and brought so many design professionals and stakeholders into this conversation? It's really exciting. And I do want to take this opportunity to say that you will be hearing soon, within a few weeks, we'll be launching a new website focusing on our staff initiated effort to facilitate housing development downtown. So this is a conversation we've been having for a while. We will be working our way through public outreach and public hearings, talking about floor lot area ratios in a different way to regulate buildings downtown and citywide. And so these images and these conceptual projects that have come out of this charrette are really exciting, because oftentimes we're talking about ordinance language and policy language, and it's hard to imagine how that actually works itself into project development. So we can use these images and sort of work backwards now. So if there are concepts, specific design elements that the City Council finds really exciting that you want us to explore further, we'd love to get that input from you. If not today, then we do plan to visit with you in late March to bring to you what we have developed at that point along our transition to floor to lot area ratios. And then we can use those images or project concepts that you're really excited about, and then sort of work backwards and determine how we develop policy language and code language to allow those types of projects in the future. So I did want to thank you for the opportunity to let you know that you'll be hearing more very soon from your planning division staff on our work efforts to facilitate housing downtown. And so turn it back to the rest of your program.
Thank you. And now, Madam Mayor, if you wish to go to public comment, and then following public comment, we will have our discussion.
Sounds good. And to keep in the spirit of a community discussion, if a council member has a burning question right now, please pop onto the screen. Otherwise, let's hear from the public and make a community discussion. Great, we have our legal counsel with us. We always need him. Good. And if council members want to come onto the screen so we can listen to public comment, Ms. Clerk, are there people there with their hands raised? Or Mr. Colon, did you have advice for us?
I did, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I want to clarify that we have a pretty significant agenda limitation today. And it comes up because of Ms. Brooks' invitation for the council to comment and give direction. You're really not in a position to react to or provide any direction whatsoever as to the report you just heard. You can certainly discuss it and talk about your feelings on it, but the agenda is very limited. I'm sorry to intervene that way, but if I heard Ms. Brooks correctly, I needed to clarify. Thank you.
Oh, good. We needed that clarification, so thank you. We're ready for public commenters. Ms. Gorman.
Very good. We do have a few people lined up already. We'll have Cameron Gray, then Lauren Trujillo, then Alice Post. If you are logged on to the meeting and you wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand within the app, or you can send a message within the app, send a question actually, and just note that you would like to speak on the item, and I will call on you. So we'll pull up our timer. And I believe, Madam Mayor, we have 2 minutes per speaker.
Sounds good to start with, yeah.
Very good. Cameron Gray, we'll have Cameron Gray, then Lauren Trujillo, then Alice Post. And I see other people are raising their hands. Very good. Cameron Gray, please go ahead.
Great. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. So I'm speaking on behalf of Community Environmental Council today. And I wanted to notify city staff and the many stakeholders joining us about an upcoming funding opportunity that can continue to support this collaborative process and innovation in Santa Barbara. The California Energy Commission recently released a solicitation for their next EPIC challenge, which is focused on reimagining affordable mixed-use development in a carbon-constrained future. Awards will fund the design of an affordable mixed-use housing project that incorporates a wide range of cutting-edge clean energy solutions. There will be 3 awards, each up to $1 million for projects in Santa Barbara, Ventura, or LA counties. One of the 3 projects in these counties will be selected for up to $9 million in additional funding, after the final designs are submitted, which is anticipated in 2023. The additional funding would support construction of the affordable mixed-use housing project with the Energy Innovations Incorporated. All public and private entities are eligible to apply, with the exception of investor-owned utilities, and the deadline to submit concept applications is April 9th, 2021. Our nonprofit would like to see an award go to a project in Santa Barbara, and we think that this incredible process we heard about today has positioned stakeholders to move forward with a very strong application, since the Energy Commission is looking for interdisciplinary teams of architects, developers, electric utilities, and other partners to collaborate on the project design. We encourage anyone who is interested in applying to attend an event on January 28th. That's a Thursday, and it will run from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30. It's being hosted by the California Energy Commission. It's their Empower Innovation event, focused on developing sustainable, affordable housing in California communities. And if anybody has questions, they can contact me on our staff page. The website is cecsb.org. They can find my contact information there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Gray. So it has to be an energy efficient project, I'm assuming. Well, we'll take a look.
It does have to be an energy efficient project, but it goes beyond that. It would incorporate energy storage, renewable energy sources, and also electric vehicle charging stations. And all the funding would be able to support the design to incorporate those innovations into a development. It'd probably be best for a development that is already in the planning phases. So just wanted to bring that to the attention and really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Lauren Trujillo, then Alice Post, Anthony Grumbine, Kim Cochran, Leslie Wiscombe, and Michael Holliday. Lauren Trujillo. Lauren Trujillo, please go ahead. Lauren Trujillo, you can unmute yourself and then go ahead.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Sorry. Evening, Madam Mayor and Council members. My name is Lauren Trujillo, and I'm Mission Chair of the Santa Barbara Public Library Foundation. First, I want to commend the Santa Barbara chapter of American Institute of Architects, their incredible community partners and volunteers, all of their work exploring strategies to reimagine our downtown. While this pandemic has been challenging, positive outlook on the creativity and strength of our community to imagine a brighter future. The Santa Barbara Public Library and Santa Barbara Library Foundation have been in communication with leaders and have shared our plan for a reimagined library plaza. Our projects really hand in hand for the Santa Barbara. The Santa Barbara Public Library Foundation is working to revitalize the library plaza, 10,000 square feet of programmable space with the Museum of Art, honoring Santa Barbara's historic, cultural, and architectural significance. A new library plaza will meet the needs of the 21st century. Currently, the Cultural Arts District lacks a unifying space where the community can regather and learn. Moving outside will allow passerbys to recognize the library as center for dynamic, enriching, and engaging activities, a repository of books. The Santa Barbara Public Library partners with over 60 local community organizations like AIA Programming. A new plaza will be a safe site and accessible civic forums, storyteller programs, theatrical performances, and much more, lead for a renewed downtown. Our Library Plaza campaign is underway and will set the stage for AIA and their proposed revitalization for Santa Barbara. The Library Plaza fundraising goal is $5 million, with the City of Santa Barbara contributing $1.615 million. Library Plaza has received Historic Landmarks Commission approval. It's in the building and safety phase, and we will soon be presenting our possible naming opportunities to council. The last piece is to raise the funds for this critical project. And the Santa Barbara Public Library Foundation, along with campaign leadership and campaign co-chairs Jim Jackson and Janet Garufis, is leading the charge, and we hope to reach our goal by the end of this year. Historic landmark status in downtown, and we'll be able to do this, but we are very of AIA's goals and hope to be an example of a public-private partnership and a safe outcomes for the improvement. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, next speaker.
Next speaker is Alice Post, then Anthony Grumbine, Kim Cochran, Leslie Wiscombe, Michael Holliday, Barbara Hirschberg. Alice Post, you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, this is Alice Post. Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. Hi, I'm Alice Post, and I want to thank the architects and City of Santa Barbara for this charrette process. I am a member of Coalition for Neighborhood Schools, and that is why I'm speaking to you here today. The members of the leading committee of the architects met with us at length to discuss the great need in our city for a neighborhood school in the downtown area. And they received information from us about historical locations of the downtown schools that were in the 700 block of Santa Barbara. Was Lincoln School, which is where the police station is being planned to be built. So we need to have a rebuilt Lincoln School, and increased housing in the downtown area is only going to increase the need for a downtown school. We are generally very enthusiastically supportive of more housing, even though it will exacerbate the need for a downtown elementary school. But the reason that I particularly am in favor of more housing is that it's going to make Santa Barbara a better place to live. I hope that you can find ways that this housing will be affordable to families and not just homes for rich people coming in here from other states and countries buying second homes. I don't know how you can do that, but I think that's really critical, and I'd like to see some research on that. So we support downtown housing, and we beg you to please include plans for a neighborhood school in the downtown, and we thank the community for including us in the process.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Anthony Grumbine, then Kim Cochran, Leslie Wiscombe, Michael Holliday, Barbara Hirschberg, Barry Remus, Roxana Bonderson, Rob Fredericks. Anthony Grumbine, please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to make a couple quick little notes. So originally I had participated with the first charrette as a member participating in the design. For this charrette, I helped organize a group of HLC members, ABR, and single family design members to as mentioned, to look through all the different teams and all their work, and to sort of find the real gems that we thought were great examples of Santa Barbara, that potential for Santa Barbara architecture, and to add to it the street and landscape and everything. So that was a great effort by the various design community members. I'm very thankful for everyone for volunteering for that. The AIA and everyone that organized has done a great job. I think there's a lot of really good material here. To me, the next question most obviously is, okay, so what do you do with all this great material, just like the last one from 3 years ago? And I think the answer is because it's bigger than, obviously it's bigger than just State Street. It's a bigger picture that we need to kind of work through on a lot of different issues. Housing's one throughout the city, environmental issues, and of course State Street and transportation and bikes and entertainment and public and civic elements as well. And so I would recommend, in thinking about this, that there's some sort of a small group formed, a task force, similar to how it was done with the State Street, to solve some of the State Street questions and problems, and to really come up with a short-term way, a plan to actually get a lot of these addressed in sort of a structure that can get worked through, and then start to implement it. And it might take a year or 2 years or what, and be a combination of planning commissioners, city council, HLC, and others, and as well as staff and as well as members from the public. So I think we really need to get a game plan to move forward. It might take a couple meetings, but I think it's doable, and I would highly recommend that as next steps to actually forming a solution for all these things and using the great stuff the AI has done. So,
Thank you,
all
Mr.
right, and that's it. Since I'm out of time. All right.
You started a little late, so I let you go, but thank you. That's good.
Okay, thanks. All right.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Kim Cochran, followed by Leslie Wiscombe, Michael Holliday, Barbara Hirschberg, Barry Remus, Roxana Bonderson, Rob Fredericks, Robin Elander. Kim Cochran, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hi. First, thanks for such an informative presentation and defining the views on public art. Very well presented and stated. I would like to expand on the ideas presented earlier. First and foremost, art should not be an afterthought, but it should be incorporated into the overall vision and the implementation. On a more pragmatic sense, city after city have shown arts and culture is an economic driver. It increases tourism, it increases tax revenues for both and also the pockets of the local businesses. Arts not only improves the quality of life, it is also a bigger picture of creating successful urban environments. Continued programming allows a path for Santa Barbara to remain relevant, increase the economic vitality both for local businesses, local contractors, and our local creative community, and let's not forget the increased tax revenues. Being just one of the many volunteers involved with the charrette, it gave me a much deeper understanding of the complexities of designing and a much deeper appreciation for urban design. Through this project, study has shown successful walkable cities and urban environments have open spaces, many paseos, and have everyday living amenities such as medical, educational opportunities, grocery stores, dentists, dry cleaners, and all of it should be within walking distance. Buildings occupying entire city blocks are rare. I'd like to encourage Madam Mayor and the council to consider continued discussion regarding the importance of arts and culture and not consider it as an afterthought, but actually incorporate it into the design and the economic sustainability of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Leslie Wiscombe, then Michael Holliday, Barbara Hirschberg, Barry Remus, Roxana Bonderson, Rob Fredericks, Robin Elander. Leslie Wiscombe. Leslie Wiscombe, please go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of City Council. Leslie Wiscombe here. I just want to express my gratitude to Ms. Johnson, city staff, and the AIA members and the whole team who worked so hard on these thoughtful visions and takeaways for downtown Santa Barbara. And thank you to the sponsors who supported this community and professional effort. I especially appreciate the creative efforts in sustainability and effective stormwater treatment, two important goals in any development or redevelopment. Also, I think that the survey results that the AIA has posted are very important. The survey had about 4,800 respondents, a significant result. This survey asked many questions that are different from those asked in the city survey. I believe that the results of the two surveys should be melded together and considered equally. Also, the foundation concept forming a public-private partnership deserves our thoughtful exploration. And again, kudos to all of you. Thank you for your creativity, visions, and hard work for our community. The presentation provides much food for thought as we move forward in the visioning process. And I urge you to consider Ms. Johnson's recommendations moving forward. Thank you very much for your time.
Ms. Wiscombe, did you mean a public-private partnership related to the stormwater assessment district?
No, well, yes, I think that's important. Yes, that for, I think Ms. Johnson captured that in her recommendations in terms of developing a district stormwater plan for State Street, which I think is a really great idea.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Barbara Hirschberg, Barry Remus, Roxana Bonderson, Rob Fredericks, and Robin Elander. If you are logged on and you wish to speak, please raise your hand. If you don't see where to do that, you can send a question in the app and I will add you to the list. So next we have Michael Holiday, and go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, as well as Nina and Santa Barbara AIA. My name is Michael Holiday. I am an architect, a resident, and a member of the AIA for the past 33 years, past president, and just so excited to be here today. Also been involved in the last 3 downtown design charrettes over the years, more recently the last 2, which were highlighted today. We just all want to say how much we appreciate the ability to present our work, our thoughts and our ideas. And I don't know about you, but I just thank God every day I get a chance to live, work, and raise my family in such a beautiful and innovative community like Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara is a world-recognized community, as many of you know, and it's envied as a destination, not only to visit, but for many more who dream of living here, younger generations, including our own children. And that's what this presentation is all about, an opportunity to live, work, and grow in the downtown. So I'd encourage City Council to recognize this opportunity that we're all facing as designers, builders, and leaders. And I think this national retail revolution led by Amazon and others, combined with this transformation of the retail commercial in the downtown core, and plus the past 10 months of a global pandemic, is really a great opportunity for us to all be bold, to be progressive, to be open, to adapt to innovation in the downtown, primarily with using flexibility with the modular units that we have and the financial incentives that John so importantly highlighted. If we don't get the financial feasibility right, none of these projects work. So you guys get the opportunity to set policies and procedures in place, much as Pearl Chase did after the 1920s earthquake, to set the standard for the future. So I just want to thank you and say, let's be bold, let's be innovative, and let's turn this into an opportunity to make Santa Barbara continue to be a world-class destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Speakers?
Our next speaker is Barbara Hirschberg, then Barry Remus, Roxana Bonderson, Rob Fredericks, Robin Elander, and Jim Cannell. Barbara Hirschberg, please go ahead. Barbara Hirschberg, you can unmute yourself and go ahead. Barbara Hirschberg, we will come back to you. Our next speaker is Barry Remus. Barry Remus, please. Barry Remus, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Council members, and we want to thank the members of the AIA for this wonderful presentation, as well as Ms. Johnson and administrative staff. This is Barry Remus. I'm representing COAST, the Coalition for Sustainable Transportation. And as a longtime advocate for a people-centered downtown corridor, COAST wants to recognize and appreciate and support the creative visions and the ideas that were born out of this AIA Charrette 2020. We also want to encourage the city to incorporate many of the ideas for more transit-friendly downtown housing, placemaking, open spaces, et cetera, for future planning. And we also support what's been discussed lately about the idea of formulating a downtown master revitalization plan that can really bring together and amalgamate a lot of the ideas, not only from the AIA Charrette, but also your community, State Street, the Future of State Street survey, and other stakeholder and public feedback. And COAST, of course, looks forward to being involved in that, to be able to see the future of our downtown not only be vibrant for our community, to bring more housing, mixed use development, and environmentally friendly planning to the city. We know that there's happier days ahead. We hope that we can all be a part of that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Remus. Next.
Our next speaker is Roxana Bonderson, then Rob Fredericks, Robin Elander, Jim Cannell, and Barbara Hirschberg. Roxana Bonderson, please go ahead.
Hello, council members and Madam Mayor. This is Roxana Vondersen. You know me from the Planning Commission. I am here today to share my observations and insights. I had the opportunity in a very unique way to witness the overall process that has taken place between all the different groups, the project teams, and many of the community members who have communicated their ideas and favorable feedback about the future of State Street. Not only have I had the pleasure of personally working with the AIA charrette and collaborating with the architects and members of the public and other professionals who'd been involved in the project, but also to be able to participate further, to provide support as a planner and also as a nonprofit expert to help find solutions to the complex topic of funding. Funding a dream is often the part that intimidates those who cannot often see the big vision pathway. But in this case, having been able to participate, wearing multiple hats and interacting with other types of project development professionals, the ability to imagine the realistic possibilities of this vision have become much easier for me to see. The amount of work, transparency, and inclusivity on the public outreach and compilation of community contribution has been impressive. I've been fascinated by the ability of those leading in the charge to embrace the wide breadth of ideas that were coming out of this process, and to be able to compile a wide variety of ideas from people who come from all walks of life, all professions, as well as understanding and applying important priorities that were expressed by diverse socioeconomic groups to truly create a comprehensive, cohesive, and unified vision. This successful model of the public process has the signature of many citizens of Santa Barbara stamped all over it. There are not many planning proposals that go into such great depth so early in the process to demonstrate what is truly possible. And I'm inspired to see that we have come this far in such a trying time with social distancing and separation. I would like to end by expressing my support for the ideas coming before you today and hope that council can easily envision the possibilities with the same confidence that I do, and also consider endorsing and supporting the master plan design effort and the public and private partnership ideas to continue this forward.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Rob Fredericks, followed by Robin Elander, Jim Cannell, and Barbara Hirschberg. Rob Fredericks, please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Council members. Rob Fredericks with the Housing Authority of the City of Santa Barbara. I don't have any formal prepared public comment, but watching the presentation today, I was very pleased to see what has been created through the AIA, and I wanted to thank the AIA for the charrette process that they went through, and Nina Johnson for what she's been doing as well. And I wanted to say that if we're going to have vibrant, livable downtown corridor, we need inclusive housing, affordable housing across the income spectrum. We don't want to forget about the affordable housing needs for low-income service workers, moderate income, the middle income workers. And as a housing developer ourselves, we know how difficult it is with housing costs to keep rents in a range that's affordable to people. So there are no funding sources for the moderate income ranges or middle income ranges. And we really need to think about coming up with other funding mechanisms to provide that housing that can keep the rents in an affordable range for them. So I just wanted to thank all the comments today are right on track. And I also like Mr. Grumbine's idea of moving forward with coming up with a group to create the plan to move it forward. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Fredericks. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Robin Elander, then Jim Cannell, final speaker, Barbara Hirschberg. Robin Elander, please go ahead.
Mayor, City Council members, and members of the community. My name is Robin Elander, Executive Director for Downtown Santa Barbara, an an organization that supports and promotes over 1,200 businesses in the downtown corridor. I just wanted to hop on and share that there are so many elements to praise about this presentation and this process. I will not have time to share all of them, but I just want to share that there are really, this has been an incredible process to be part of. I attended and participated in many of the meetings and charrettes and have spoken to many of the attendees. The time that has been put into this process, the time and energy and the diversity of people who have attended and the high caliber of skill and professionalism that they have put into all of these designs are really to be commended. And this is a great baseline for us to consider using and to really take elements from as we continue to re-envision our downtown, particularly the public spaces, the creative place making, and really the re-envisioning of the uses of spaces. It comes with us a very fortuitous time to be able to utilize this as we really take in not only the data from the survey that they made, as well as the survey that the city put out and all of the concepts. So thank you all for the time that you've put into this. And I just want to commend you for all of the work. Thank you.
We commend you for all your work, Ms. Elander. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jim Cannell, then Barbara Hirschberg and Bonnie Donovan. Jim Cannell, please go ahead.
Wow, it's quite a presentation that I heard, and it's you can't help but feel somewhat excited, but at the same time, I'm pretty disappointed where we are right now. We have over 60 vacancies between the freeway and Sola Street. And when you talk about a partnership with the city, with stakeholders, I think you are jumping the gun there. Because I think a lot of the properties have lost faith in the city and the process, especially when you look at the status of State Street right now. To think that you could take State Street from where it is right now to what it would be down the road, you're looking at an awfully long time. For me, just to build an apartment project here in downtown Santa Barbara, it's 5 years. The economics just don't work. Affordability and affordable housing just won't work in Santa Barbara. So from that standpoint, where do you go from here? You have to look at developing your relationships with not only the stakeholders that are here in Santa Barbara, but the people that can provide the opportunities to create these things that you want so much to have. I'm not sure, when talking to the retailers that I have, that you have the support that you think you have with changing the nature of State Street. State Street has changed an awful lot in the last 3 years. And most of it's been for the worse. And that's kind of where we are now. And we got to claw ourselves back to at least some sort of sustainability. Otherwise, you'll lose every opportunity that you'll have to create something better in the future. Thank you.
Thanks. Next speaker.
Our next speaker is Barbara Hirschberg. Barbara Hirschberg, I will unmute you. Barbara Hirschberg, please unmute yourself. And after Barbara Hirschberg, Bonnie Donovan. Barbara Hirschberg, please unmute yourself. Click on the little radio button. So it goes to green. Okay, we will move on to Bonnie Donovan. Bonnie Donovan, please go ahead.
Hello. I just want to make sure you read in the staff report, was this really a public-private partnership? And what have we listened and learned? I signed up for the charrettes. I got accepted. 13 other fellow citizens did not. I was not invited to all the meetings. Let's go with first. I was accepted. And then I had to sit there and ask, how am I getting on the next Zoom meeting? Second, I was put in Ellen, one of the 3 chairs group, only to never be contacted again. I did my own walk through our blocks, and I still have my information. Third, at the first meeting, while we were waiting for everybody to sign in, they were asking where everybody was from. They were from multiple cities and states. Number 5, there were so many city people involved, which is good to know that we're employing them to do that. I find it wrong that a city commissioner was not only involved, yet voted against a project that was in her block that she headed up and plans to remove part of that. One, I am not against housing on State Street. I'm excited for it. As a 60-year resident, and my family goes back way further, born, raised, and retired in construction, I could have really helped out and done stuff for this. I was excited. Before this ever started, John Campanella said, hey, walk and find places we could put housing. And I was all for that. But I didn't get to attend his meeting he had at the charrette. I know my time is.
Yeah, Ms. Donovan, if you could wrap up your thoughts. Thanks.
That's it.
Thank you then. Did Ms. Hirschberg come back, Ms. Gorman?
Madam Mayor, oh, Ms. Hirschberg, there you are. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hallelujah. Okay. Don't we all love these virtual experiences? Yeah. Okay. I'm Barbara Cronin Hirschberg, and I'm here representing the Santa Barbara Friends of the Library. We're excited about the changes that have already been made to State Street to make it more inviting, and we look forward to additional changes. Our board sees this as the ideal opportunity to open a Friends of the Library bookstore in an empty store or part of a store. It would be very inviting to both locals and tourists, as there are currently no bookstores on State Street. In the past, Borders and Barnes & Noble were very popular. Selling donated books is one of the best ways to raise much needed revenue for the library, and is probably the most common way that the Friends make money in other locations. With the donations of books, which we get, and the FOL being willing to volunteer, it's a perfect business model. Potentially, high school students might be able to donate some of their community service hours to help us out. I hope that it's something the city will support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else out there? Ms. Gorman?
Madam Mayor, we do have a person who has just raised their hand, Megan Sheard. Megan Sheard, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Megan Sheard. I was part of the charrette. I'm a PhD student at UC Santa Barbara. And I just wanted to make the comment that one of the conversations that we did have in some of our group processes was about the need to substantially include community consultation with local Indigenous people and the Latinx community and people of color. There were some responses in the large survey about issues of inclusivity for people of color in downtown Santa Barbara. And I just wanted to put that on the table in terms of whatever kinds of processes might happen moving forward, particularly around design concerns as well, because certain different types of families, different types of people, not just young professionals, have different needs for what it would mean for these kind of spaces to be inclusive. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Gorman?
Madam Mayor, no further speakers.
We'll close public comment, and I was trying to glean some questions out of what people were talking about. As for an elementary school downtown, I think that would have to be in concert with the school district, but I know that there was some talk about university space, and already Antioch is downtown, Westmont is using some space downtown. So Ms. Gutierrez, you have a question too. If the Charette folks would come back and I could pose that question about space for education, let that hang out there. Ms. Gutierrez, did you want to ask a question?
It was more of a comment, but I'll wait.
Okay, we'll have closing remarks, and we have a good half an hour, so let's use our time well. Mr. Piker, were people talking about reusing the space, the retail space, right? We need to do something else with it?
Yeah, certainly there was a lot of focus on what to do with those large retail spaces that are available. I'm going to suggest that the housing group, maybe Dennis Thompson would be a good one to end to speak to that question.
Okay.
So
okay.
Dennis, yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll just say that there were 2 teams devoted to the Paseo Nuevo blocks, and both of those teams did detailed studies of turning the 2 big retail buildings into either housing, apartments, or hotel spaces. Obviously, there haven't been any technical studies. We haven't analyzed these buildings for the building code, but we did, find that they were fairly practical to be converted into residential uses.
Okay. My second question that kind of popped up for me was about micro units, which is something that our planning commission reviewed, and we've talked about it a little bit. Mr. Piker, since you're up there, did you all talk about that as a way to reuse some of the space as very small units, I guess, micro?
Yeah, yes, we did. That is definitely a trend that we're seeing, not only here in Santa Barbara, but around the world. I would say that I'm going to propose that John Campanella speak to that a little bit.
Is he still available? Let's see.
Yes, hi. Good evening. Matter of fact, one of the 7 projects that we showed, they were De La Guerra micro units. They averaged, about 300 square feet in one project. Other projects included micro units in the mix of units that they had, because they had a capability with the way they were designing their floors with a lot of livable space, that they could provide a variety of units on each floor. So it could either be a standalone type product or building, but more interesting is really supporting it and creating it with all different types of units, both 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, which the architects did design in the charrette. Thank you.
Thanks. Council members, did you, or Mr. Piker, did you hear any other questions in the public comment that you wanted to address?
Well, I think I heard a lot of praise for the effort that we put into it, and I'm sure that many of the public, probably have questions once they delve into it. But I cannot remember or recall a specific question that came up other than.
That's fine. I think I got them. Ms. Gutierrez, did you have a question, or you're still in comment mode?
I'm in comment mode, but I have a question now. But it was Mr. Gutierrez was before me. Go ahead.
Are you ready, Mr. Gutierrez?
I am. Thank you, Council Member Gutierrez and Madam Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I just want to say that I'm sure you're aware that bicycling on State Street specifically is becoming an issue, especially the future of bicycling on State Street. So I was wondering and hoping if you could reiterate or go into more detail about how bicycling has fit into the planning of State Street.
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that has been discussed, and there are, varying opinions on that subject. I'm going to suggest that John Margolis, if you're here and on, or Courtney Miller, either one of you two might be able to speak to that. They were involved in the State Street Promenade designing. Either one of you there?
Hi, I'm here. John had to run out. He had some work to do, so I can speak to that. And thank you for the question. I was on one of the teams that addressed the entire State Street corridor. So I believe there were 4 teams that only looked at State Street, not the adjacent blocks. And there were a lot of ideas that were put forward that addressed how circulation could work in the street. In general, I think there was a lot of healthy debate about that issue. And, some people felt that it would be better to have a dedicated bike lane. And some people felt it would be better to completely reroute bicycle transportation to the adjacent roads, Santa Barbara Street and Anacapa. I think there's also a consensus between the team members that, having as much transportation on State Street as possible will help with the vibrancy of the downtown, will help bring business to downtown. So, there's a bit of a disconnect there with, do we move bicycles off or keep them? I think in general, we want to keep them on State Street. It's just a matter of, how does that work with the pedestrians and, emergency vehicles? So I think shared streets were discussed and dedicated bike lane separate from pedestrian was discussed.
And I think there were a lot of different ideas about how that could be done as well. When you look closely at the work of the charrette there, you'll see that there are a lot of different ideas about how that can be integrated.
So you did reach out to the multiple bicycle organizations and groups in the community to get their input on that?
Yes, I believe so. And again, the survey covered that question as well. And there was pretty strong support for bicycles being incorporated there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Gutierrez, or Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez. Ms. Gutierrez, ready?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this question goes to Mr. Campanella or anybody. One of the public comments, comments, they mentioned how it's impossible to have affordable housing in Santa Barbara. How would you address, or this group, how would this group address that comment?
John, do you want to go ahead with that?
Yeah.
And I may add something as well.
Sure.
Thank you.
There are a number of examples showing the ability to convert parking lots. The current AUD program really was successful in private parking lot conversions. There's a limited amount downtown, but there are, and we illustrated some. But there's also the city lots, surface lots, and others. If we were to form private-public partnerships, perhaps with the Housing Authority's assistance, can in fact public developers actually work with the private industry on different incomes that would be provided for within these larger parking lots. In other words, the city would be involved maybe land leasing to the market rate developers in order to generate an income stream to help support the affordable units that are provided for in the same project. There could be several hundred units produced on some of the parking lots, similar to what you're doing on the Carrillo commuter lots. But I think you have to look at a private-public partnership working together on land that can be developed that the city controls as really an option to try to get affordable housing built and also help with the financing of that affordable housing.
I think that's a really key point that John makes, that the land is a very, very expensive component in the development of housing. But I think overall, the city really needs to create the framework, the incentives basically to allow development to happen. If there are too many obstacles to development, it's just simply not going to happen. So it's really important to very careful, and I know the staff is working on this, what are the development standards, they're working on FARs and a number of different issues to figure out what the right formula is to create those incentives. And in terms of affordability, you already have an inclusionary requirement. And I think there's an opportunity to explore additional incentives for developers to provide more affordable units in these projects. But in general, I think we're still talking about rental housing, and we're looking at smaller units that are targeted more to the range of incomes available in the moderate income and the workforce, basically. But I think we have to look at, eliminating the obstacles and providing the incentives to create more affordability in these potentially future proposed developments. And Ellen, I think you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I would love to add just a few points. The adaptive reuse suggestion that we made in our takeaways was partially in response to this question. The notion that we could potentially alter the use of existing buildings that we have along State Street, that we currently have a lot of office spaces on upper floors, seem to lend themselves really well to the notion of being converted in use over to housing models. The other thing that's huge is the fact that City Council already through AUD amendments last year reduced, if not took away, the need for parking, which is a huge space requirement that as a community, we've already decided that that's not required. And the ability to adapt existing buildings and to create more affordable structures that focus just on housing people and not housing cars is a huge step in the right direction. The other piece is the study that John Campanella and his group did that basically concluded that in order for these projects to pencil out, 3 to 4 stories of housing would need to happen on top of existing retail. And so that mix and the lack of need for parking are critical components to making these affordable projects.
So you're saying that on existing buildings now downtown, we would need 3 to 4 stories higher to make this happen, this affordable housing? Just for clarification.
I'll invite John Campanella to return, but that was a study that he and his group conducted, and that was the direction that they seemed to come to in terms of the tipping point to make these projects worth pursuing. John?
Yeah, really, we looked at as far as new construction, primarily the multifamily units that are being created now have about 2 floors of residential. And that constraint was established back in 2011. So now we're 10 years further down the road and we really haven't changed our standards. We've done some great changes on amendments, but when you have a site that really is work and is feasible to build on, the 3 to 4 stories that you see in the charrette brings down the cost because the additional floor that's created, as we said in the presentation, is inexpensive to add relative to the rest of the costs that have already been incurred. So you already got the land, you've got the garage or commercial down below, you have the roof, and you're adding in a floor, which is primarily just a floor and some walls. So that brings the cost of everything down. And I think rather than being constrained as we were with maybe 2 levels of residential, now as we work with staff and appreciate Renee Brooks giving us this direction as well, is look at what works. How do we get more livable square footage out of the building to bring down the cost? And I think these projects illustrated that. And still, they were still within the height limit that's allowed. Is 48 to 60 feet of height. We didn't go up 90 feet or more stories. We just got more efficient, and we added 1 or 2 floors to what's currently exists in the zoning. Now, for repurposed projects, it was accomplished. We thought it could be accomplished within the Nordstrom building because of the recent structure being produced, as far as walls, steel structure. And the team that worked on that did look at that possibility. Other buildings may be easy to convert, but how much, based on when it was built and what the standards are now and building code, can you put more than a couple of floors on what's already there? That's why we're really recommending that within the building department, there be perhaps ombudsmen or people that really are experts in repurposing that could work with the architects and development community to see and call out what buildings can this be done on, what buildings can we convert and also expand. And it's good to, and also, let's say, come up with a process that could, I don't want to say streamline, but actually know what direction we're heading into, because at one time you're talking to a team of people with the ombudsman who know how to repurpose buildings. Thank you.
My last 2 questions. Somebody mentioned about eliminating obstacles for building. So I would like a little bit more information on what kind of obstacles are you hearing the community having? And then my second question, you guys mentioned the Carrillo lot was an example. Is there another existing example right now in the city that can show the community what can be done to create affordable housing?
I think it was mentioned that the lot next to the transit center is a great opportunity, and for a lot of reasons, because we're really talking about transit-oriented housing that is close to public transportation, close to all the services and all of those things. That's an excellent example of property where you could explore a private-public partnership, public-private, I should say, with developers. It could be an affordable housing developer, or a partnership between an affordable housing developer and a market rate developer to put a project together. I just point out one of the interesting ideas that came out of the teams that worked on that site was to replace the existing parking lot with a robotic parking structure, basically, which could dramatically reduce the amount of real estate land area that's necessary to provide the parking, to replace the parking, and perhaps provide some additional parking for future development. But that's a good example of a lot that, and there's some others, and there's also some privately owned parking lots that could be good opportunities for future housing development.
Yeah, I would just add there are actually 3 parking lots, 1 block after the other, all along Chapala Street, similar to what Dedi is mentioning. The first one being that one at the transit center, and then every single block after it. Those parcels are 1 to 1.5 acres each, and they have currently surface parking lot accommodations on them. And the notion that perhaps we maintain that amount of parking at the ground level and then build housing up above, just to put those very large parcels to better use. Talking through that with a number of people, if there could be some partnership with the housing authority, we might be able to look at some really more affordable type approaches to housing, on a much larger scale that would feed right into State Street and really get us a good number of units right in the heart of downtown.
I got really excited when I heard the presentation by the Community Environmental Council representative about this grant program. It sounds absolutely wonderful and just an incredible opportunity. If we can put the team together to take advantage of that, it would be the perfect thing for downtown Santa Barbara.
Thank you.
Ms. Ensberg, did you have something to add since you popped on?
Yes, could I please? I just wanted to say, yes, there are quite a few examples of these ideas of the public-private partnership. Another one that you could take a look at is over on Anacapa and Carrillo Street, a design that was done that actually cantilevered or spanned over the parking lot, the ramp entrance behind the Lobero, that long ramp that goes up there behind the Lobero. This project was very innovative in how it spanned over that to add more housing and to also help improve the looks of that whole area and to make a better entrance to the parking lot itself. Also, you may have seen the project that was on top of that parking lot, that existing parking structure, a design that showed 3 new buildings on top of it. So it preserved the parking below, but added parking above. So that's another example of a partnership where the city could help. And I think especially working with someone like the Housing Authority, that could really work, I think, to help us with the lower income or more affordable housing. So I just wanted to point out those 2 projects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good discussion. And I was really heartened to see that Renee Brooke, our city planner, will be coming back to us with what staff has been working on to bring housing downtown. And I have to say, a lot of people have their eye on our city parking lots. And so I hope staff is listening, which of those parking lots are actually available. Some of them are under city ownership, not all of them are. I know that the area where the police station is now, that'll eventually be empty when we build a new police station and clear that space. So that's kind of a good location. I love the idea of the adaptive reuse of the buildings, because we certainly have empty buildings downtown. I know Ms. Johnson has some statistics about vacancies downtown, but I would, Ms. Brooke, I think you're still on the call. People have their eye on our city parking lots, and we really need to produce an inventory of what is available. And you know, some of them I don't think you can get your hopes up, but I'll leave it at that. Ms. Sneddon, did you have questions for the group? I see you there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, I accidentally turned my camera off. There we go. A little off today. Thank you. I so appreciate just the visioning process of the charrette process. And one of the things, I guess, a question, early on in that process, I think you gave direction to charrette participants to just not be constrained or restricted by what our current codes say are, but to really dream big and think about all of these different ways it could be. And so part of the results of that is we have some really wildly creative, but maybe a little bit too much for Santa Barbara at this time. And then some that sort of are so much in the mold of what we already are doing, and some that are in between. And so just, I guess I have a question about if there's a mechanism for AIA to have like a recommendation of what you see as a unit for Santa Barbara. I think it's there's so many different plans, and I think we might each have like sort of a different reaction to them. And if there's sort of like, as architects, you know Santa Barbara and what would work and what you envision, and sort of a preferred plan out of those, or maybe that's not the idea of the charrette. So that's my first question, just sort of if there's a leaning toward a preferred vision out of those.
I would answer that with Councilmember Sneddon with just talking about an expansion of the current network of paseos. I think that was, you know, there's a really beautiful nexus between the need for open air and space to living units on these parcels that are, you know, the blocks we have in Santa Barbara are a little bit tough. They're roughly 450 feet in each direction. So you don't have a skinny direction and a long direction the way you do in a lot of other urban situations. So we end up with these very deep lots that go long and skinny in there. And there is this need with housing to provide egress and light and air to living units. So I think, at least in part to answer your question, there is a kind of a preferred configuration of, these U-shaped buildings or courtyard-shaped buildings or linear ones that allow then also for the public to circulate into these blocks that are adjacent to State Street and kind of really enliven the pedestrian experience moving through downtown. Beyond just the linear experience of State Street, there's kind of this, the alleyways and the sense of discovery and delight that come from that, further that scale drop that happens inevitably as you enter the block and move through, and then there's housing that has the air and light that it needs. So these things work very nicely together and suggest, some models of arrangement of living units.
Well, I'll say I love
I think
that.
it's also-
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's also important to remember that the charrette produced ideas, concepts, visionary ideas in some cases, and as you pointed out, Ms. Snedden, that Councilmember Snedden, that there was just a huge range of ideas. None of them were necessarily specific projects that anyone is actually proposing at this point. So I think the process that's unfolding with staff creating the regulatory setting for going forward. We already have the AUD, the modified AUD in place that allows certain development under those standards, and they're continuing to develop these standards. And as we get more and more public input, I think that's what's ultimately going to create the vision that you're looking for. What are the buildings that really are appropriate and that are acceptable to the community and that sort of thing? And that has to be balanced with feasibility of development under those regulations.
Mayor, Mayor, and to Councilwoman Snedden, also keep in mind that when we were doing the charrette, we were trying to see what would be like the maximum. We have these RHNA numbers that we're trying to meet. So part of it was to, okay, figure out what would be the maximum that you could get here, so that we could see, all right, well, this would be a maximum. This is not what we would see moving, over time. It will take a long time for these things to happen. So it wouldn't happen like you see in the charrette if everything just, appeared. So as Detti has said, these were concepts, but they were also, we were given the charge that within the normal, within the code, within the height limit, what's the maximum that you could get in there? Then we know, okay, well, this is the maximum. And I think Ellen did do a study on one of the blocks that I think wasn't it about 500, was it, Ellen? Maybe you could clarify that. That would be the if you just built the whole thing out, this is what you could get. And that was valuable information we thought to have. So I just wanted to add that little piece. Thank you.
I would also just briefly add that in my mind, it's a variety of unit types that should be the goal, so that we're not limiting the demographic to whom this sort of development appeals. I would love for it to be, families and single folks and older folks and just a really diverse, inclusive community of different family structures. And so I think we want a range of unit types, a range of sizes, so that, we can have families living downtown, or folks sharing, or however they want to configure it. But anyway, just a wide range.
I love that too. I mean, just as we're discussing like the mixed housing and the opportunities for that. And that brings me to, I have two more questions. And one is about the adaptive reuse, which I think is, I think we're all supportive of. And how much demand do you think is out there for those types of projects? And what would be the biggest impediment to that as an architect or as a project developer? Do you see those as like, yeah, cool idea, but we can't really fit in those spaces because the rules are such and such? Or is it like not enough people are interested, or there are people interested? Just your sense, if you would, on that. I think they're a great idea. So just sort of a check on that.
I'd like to invite Dennis Thompson to speak to that again. He was sort of focused in his presentation on adaptive reuse. So jump in, Dennis.
Yeah, sure. I think we can imagine that many of the office buildings in this city and other cities are not going to be filled up again. So the question would be, and I think Joe Campanella mentioned it, what's the structure of the building? Is it up to today's earthquake codes? And then what are the opportunities for windows, for exiting? So there needs to be a building code analysis of those buildings, energy performance, and so forth. The building I looked at, the Balboa building, lays out beautifully as residential apartments because there's so many windows and so many staircases. Each building, I think, is going to have to be looked at separately that way.
Thank you. And then just, I'm such a big proponent of a downtown master plan. And I think that maybe means different things to different people when we say that. And to me, it means tying in, I mean, we heard speakers from Library Plaza, or we have, De La Guerra Plaza, and how those tie together and how we mix in housing and the arts community. That's another topic. One of your takeaways was public art. And I'm wondering if in public-private partnerships, we need to be, as a city, maybe developing those partnerships more so that we can be bringing those forward more within the city bounds. But for a downtown master plan that includes all those elements, that's how I think of it. And I think I just wanted clarification from you about what you would like to see in a downtown master plan and what that would mean to you as an organization.
I'd like to call on Paul Rupp and Nina to respond to that. They put some attention on that in the presentation.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The way I would answer that is we have, I was an architect with Design Arc on the Santa Barbara Bowl for 8 phases in 12 years. And it's county property. They formed a foundation to serve the community to develop that property. And in 1992, a master plan was done and taken through the CEQA process and got an approved master plan. And then the first actual project happened when was one of the first projects I worked on in this city in 1998. And it began with a storm prevention project with state monies. But we had done enough work on the design development level of the 3 first phases, so we knew how to integrate that with state grant. And then at that time, there was no money to execute the master plan, but it was done in phases over 12 years, at least the 8 phases I was involved in. And why that's a good example is that is county property. Okay, and then the foundation brings the expertise, they raise the money, and from the time where they had no money to when they finished the last work, they raised about $40 million. And then it was done in phases because you wanted to keep the facility in operation during that time. You wanted to keep employing the foundation staff for the benefit of the community. And that's a really good example of how it could work. And then if you look at, let's say, the High Line in New York City, where an abandoned transportation trestle became an amenity when it was revisioned. And if you look at that project, I think there was, I don't know the actual numbers, but millions were invested and it generated billions in economic development. Now that's New York City, that's a lot of people, but the idea is we'd really like the city council to consider, there's a lot of legal issues about how to manage such an idea and all those things, and they would have to be vetted. But what I can say about the bowl as a facility, because of this grand master plan, we knew how to do individual phase projects that were completely, coordinated, and then you could phase them both in construction cost and time scale, because we only could build between seasons. And also as a professional with other experiences, in 1992, I was part of the renovation team for Bryant Park in New York City. And I'll never forget going to the first meeting with a client who was Arthur Rosenblatt out of the Metropolitan Museum in New York. And what I was so surprised at is at this meeting were all these MBAs and other types of financial professionals, and I didn't understand. And Arthur said, Paul, what's important about making, and at the time it was called Needle Park, it was a very unsafe, dangerous park. And he shared the fact that it was actually the programming and the creation of activity that bring safety, bring life, bring interest. And that's why I think for our city, that's just one possibility, right? But if you could imagine the city supporting the idea of having a philanthropic group who is willing to, supplement and support all existing institutions and organizations, whether it's having performances by the Music Academy West on State Street, or having ballet performance with the State Street Ballet, or having symphony. And again, that's a community's desire of what that would be. But that whole process happened with the bowl on paper, with all the, both appropriate California process for CEQA and Coastal Commission and and specific plan, all those important stakeholder issues. But then the master plan could capture and coordinate and make sure that what was proposed aligned with community vision. And that isn't our vision, it's not your vision, it's the community's vision. And again, that is a grand idea, but I must say that having seen Bryant Park go from a dangerous, scary place to an embraced community amenity, seeing the bowl go from a slab on grade on the stage with temporary piping and scaffolding into a world-class performance space that brings incredible experience to this community that wouldn't come here otherwise, as well as it's a good example of a foundation, really operating things for the benefit of the community with community input and because the bowl has all kinds of events for Westmont and UCSB, as well as bringing in, commercial performances. And again, this is a bold idea, but I personally saw the bowl go from zero money to, what was 10 completed phases, and they completed the master plan.
Thank you.
So that's just an idea to put out there.
I would add to that downtown, we have a lot of much smaller parcels, and we have the CG zoning that already allows for a certain list of uses. And in the spirit of flexibility and, just movement and decision-making on the part of property owners, who own those parcels, that, maybe we've accomplished the goal, which is to provide this range of possible development uses of those properties, and maybe take a look at that and make sure that as a community we're comfortable with that list of uses within CG. I think we have the tools already existing, and perhaps there's some adjustments to make, but I think leaving flexibility to the property owners to see, what is it that we have enough of already, or what do we need more of, and what's going to be financially feasible and beneficial to the community, could maybe be the driver for how things evolve over time without getting overly prescriptive.
Okay, thank you. I was thinking we were going to end at 6. I think we're going to go over a little. Okay, we need to have Ms. Johnson come back with her slides, but go ahead, by all means, if you have another topic.
Just really quickly, because I realize we are over the time too, but I was interested in, and I can talk online to the members who are presenting here today, but in going to all the different boards and commissions throughout the city, that was a nice list, and just sort of what the feedback from those different city advisory board entities were. But that may be a bigger question than can be answered at this moment, but it's something I'm really interested in.
Right, and I gave you a little bit of sample of that. I think, again, you know, in general, it's very, very supportive. So you have these organizations out here that are thinking about these things. We've presented these ideas to them, and they are excited and supportive of the possibilities. But and they have their own questions, just as you had today. And it's a process of getting more and more input as we get more and more specific about what the vision is really going to look like. I do want to say one thing, that you see this thing here? This is the full body of the work. It's 330 pages. I really encourage you to download that PDF from our website, because there's so much richness in that goes beyond the highlights we shared with you today. So I didn't want to understate that, you know, the importance of taking a look at that, because they'll give you, there's a lot of text and narrative and detailed analysis and numbers and all of those things that we didn't really have the time to go through today.
Thank you.
I think I'm the only one who has an actual printed version of this. Our intention is to gift each of you a copy of this within the next week or two.
Thank you so much. And I'll ask other council members who have some closing remarks. I did ask Mr. Harris, Jason Harris, our economic development manager, before the meeting started, because I saw in your takeaways document that you were talking about master planning and visioning, and he said that the State Street Subcommittee would be, that's part of their charge. So Ms. Sneddon, Ms. Harmon, and Mr. Gutierrez, I know that, Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez, I know that's your committee, and I'm hoping this can be in your lap for now anyway. Anyone else want to come on? Otherwise, I'll ask Ms. Johnson to come. Mr. Jordan, questions or closing comment?
You were asking for comments, weren't you?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Let me just run through some of my comments and thoughts, and in line with Mr. Cologne's caution, these are all my feelings, okay? Not giving direction, I'm just offering my feelings. I'm a little intimidated by the 300 pages that Detti is offering, but I am really impressed by the page and a third of takeaways and next steps. I really think that's a really cool working document to really focus on. One of those is an absolute no-brainer to me, and that's the inclusion of art in whatever the final fix is. And then most of the others really come down to a combination of resources and political will. And I'm going to have some comments to make on that in a second, but part of that burden falls to us. Part of that burden falls for us to find the money, and then to strategically turn loose the private sector to help us with this. So what other little points I just had when I was listening to the comments and when I was read this, and somebody talked about this before, but there's some immediacy in my mind to aggressively attacking, in particular, city flat parking lots, to try and take the cost of land either out of the equation or down to the least manageable impact on the equation. And those, to me, just every time I go see one, park in one, even private ones, when you're looking across the street from City Hall, they're just screaming for an opportunity to do something with them other than what they are now. And to me, that rises to the top of the list. I also think that somebody who knows what they're doing needs to just kind of wander around and look for underdeveloped or not developed parcels, particularly with multi-generational ownership. So they're on the second or third generation ownership. So their cost basis is low, and they potentially could benefit from some type of private-public or private-private partnership that would either offer an accrued tax incentive or an estate planning incentive. You know, my poster child for that is, I'm sure you've all heard me harp on this before, is the vacant lot on Carrillo next door to the Goodwill Center there at the corner of Bath and Carrillo. That's a lot that's been vacant for decades. We know who the local family is. It is a second generation, if not a third generation. And there has to be a way to incentivize or bring a place like that to the table that could benefit us all. And then I think we additionally need to look, as a council or a city, need to look for ways to stimulate action on those underutilized or not utilized parcels. And two of the things that have been on my list also for a while are either using public acquisition for community benefit, or putting in place some type of vacancy penalty structure for long-term vacant properties. Now, before one of those vacant property owners or managers gets really upset there, my poster child for that is the still vacant, empty parcel where the old Esau's restaurant used to be at 40-something State Street, in the 400 block of State Street. That is now going on 20 years of an empty shell of a parcel at the entrance to our historical district. And in my opinion, that shouldn't be allowed to happen. One of the quotes Planning Commission used to get tired of me saying, I attributed for many years to Bill Mahan. And then I later found out it was actually a Jerry Brown quote the first time he was governor, so quite a while ago. And that was, to do nothing is to do something. And that, I think, is possibly our worst mistake, is our fear of doing something because we're worried about what the consequence will be, and then we do nothing when the situation is actually calling for us to do something. Jim Cannell mentioned timeline tonight, and I'll second what he said, but I'll paraphrase, because what we don't do now charts and puts in place and can't change the next 5 or 10 years. We have to start now, because what we do or don't do will affect and limit or reward us in the next 5 or 10 years. Anything we start in 5 years will still be 5 or 10 years away. So it's just my little thing that I think keeps making me look for what can we do, how do we get started. I think I'm gonna get off these because time's running out. The other thing I'd just like to mention is a lot of this is, a lot of that I see in this process rests solely on our shoulders, to have the political will, to see the vision, and to be part of that change rather than being timid. We can either allow what's going on right now around us to drive us where we're going to be, or we need to get in the driver's seat and take charge of it. So thank you, Madam Mayor. And again, I haven't said it, but thank you to AIA. This is the second time they've gone through this process. It gets better every time. And I so appreciate, I think we don't really recognize or appreciate the actual amount of money and resources that was donated and helped put into this, along with the sponsorship that they gathered. And just a really super job. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'll second that emotion. Awesome. Thank you. Ms. Gutierrez, go ahead, please. With your closing remarks.
Yes, I just want to thank everybody that worked in this presentation and worked so many hours into the community. It's really a gift to us. So thank you so much for all of the architects and community participation that came through this presentation. I also just want to thank, again, for confirming that as a city, we do have to start thinking out of the box and start to work with nonprofits and private funders to fund an idea like this or future ideas to better the community. So just wanted to give thanks to everybody. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Very good, thanks. Ms. Harmon, ready?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I couldn't agree more with Councilmember Gutierrez. She said it very well. I echo everything she said, her thanks, and especially her point about how it's incumbent on us to really think creatively about funding. I want to just call out specifically my appreciation for the foundation idea that was put forth. I think that's really exciting, and it really speaks to your creativity and the group's creativity in thinking through how to move these ideas from concept into reality. I think we all are sort of feeling the weight of this moment and the import of the year to come and of all the decisions that we're going to make for our city and the consequential nature of this time that we're in. And I just want to, as both of my colleagues did, really express my appreciation to the AIA for starting the process. You know, that we have an opportunity now to really enact transformational change that will influence the future of our city for generations to come. And it's really exciting. It's really exciting to see the level of commitment we have to this city of Santa Barbara and to our downtown, and to see the true creativity and the great minds we have at work. So I'm really looking forward to digging in with all of you on the State Street Subcommittee and here at Council as well, and to doing this work. It's going to be an exciting year ahead. So many thanks. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Friedman?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just be brief. I want to echo all the comments. I think everything has been said. I don't have much to add. I just want to thank our staff for your participation in this AIA and all the community members who have given significant input. And I do want to, in particular, thank Cass Ensberg, because she walked me through down there through where the posters are up and gave me the whole background. We spent probably about an hour and a half really walking through it, and there's a lot of possibility here. But tonight, I think we heard a lot of the challenges that are going to be there. And so I look forward to working this year with the community to come up with that vision that we want and work through some of these challenges in terms of housing, but also wanted to just make a big plug for the arts and how they're going to be a major part of whatever we do down there in all the different regions there. And it is maybe a time to really look at how as a community and as a city we fund the arts, and looking at our systems in place to make sure that we have the right partnerships and can really make that investment and put that forward as we're looking at housing and other things. So that's really what I wanted to add, just a big plug for the arts, and also our library as well, with the plaza renovation coming, is going to be a major part of what we do as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Friedman. And Ms. Ensberg and I walked the posters too on State Street. And what was remarkable was the people who were coming up to us and talking to us about what they saw there. And there they were, having the lived experience. They were on State Street telling us, yes, we want to see more public art and keep it like it is, and make sure that transportation is responsive, and they would love housing downtown. So I really do look forward to Renee Brooke and the planning staff coming back with their ideas. And whenever I start to think, oh, what are we going to do about this or that, staff sort of reads my mind, and here they are coming up with some good ideas. So thank you very much. Really happy to hear that, Ms. Brooke. The State Street Subcommittee, I know, will be looking at a lot of these issues, and I know there was some suggestion about putting together a separate committee, but I can tell you right now, the city bureaucracy, and I say that as a nice word, our bureaucracy, our structure, I'm not sure we can really support another planning group. So I do suggest the State Street Committee that they house it there, this discussion going forward. Ms. Johnson, come on back and let's see your work. Nina Johnson, a miracle worker in the city administrator's office, full of ideas, and she knows how to execute stuff. So really looking forward to that how you're going to carry it forward and force us to have the political will to do the right thing. So Ms. Johnson, did you have those final thoughts?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So we just have the final steps. Staff is going to be taking these steps. So we've already discussed that we're going to be moving forward on these efforts from here on. So looking at the formation of a foundation within a range of funding models to look at how we support public-private partnerships. And then once again, as Ms. Brooke discussed, how we're integrating the housing data and images and options and helping them to come up with policy amendments going forward, how we're incentivizing housing units downtown, and then also looking at exploration of a stormwater assessment district and the possible benefits of pursuing that type of partnership with our property owners. So we'll be starting to take a look at those.
Sounds good. And I thank the public who participated tonight and the architects out there. You're a unique kind of artist, and we always admire your work and how you try to improve our lives with not just the buildings that we occupy and inhabit, but the whole structure and community around them. Thank you so much for your work, all of you, all your participants, and we'll go ahead and close this meeting with thanks. Meeting adjourned.